How you get so big into food of this kind?
Hello everyone and welcome to the video. No teaser at the beginning today. I'm going to get into some stuff that's a little bit more serious than usual, and I really just want to get right into the video. Let's talk Vader. We know him, we love him, the voice, the power, the most iconic breathing in all of Hollywood. He's the villain we all want to be. There is an important lesson in Vader's story for today's climate, however. And it's not as simple as reject your hatred. Thinking back to the days that Vader called himself Anakin Skywalker, I feel like most remember the whiny, entitled, bratty Anakin of Attack of the Clones. Anakin, I don't like sans Skywalker, isn't exactly the most charismatic hero. The Clone Wars gave us a better received look at the character, but even then Anakin comes off as controlling. He's the chosen one. He gets whatever he wants, he does whatever he wants, and he's never faced with the consequences of his actions. The idea of loss is absolutely lost upon him. In short, it's easy to see Anakin as an immature, privileged boy who can't handle not getting what he wants. And perhaps what really gets to people is the idea that he's right and no one else is. For example, the waterfall scene from Attack of the Clones is full of Anakin's "it's my way or the highway" mentality.
We need a system where the politicians sit down and discuss the problem, agree what's in the best interest of all the people, and then do it.
That's exactly what we do. The trouble is that people don't always agree.
Well, then they should be made to.
By whom? Who's gonna make them?
I don't know. Someone.
You?
Of course not me.
But someone.
Someone wise.
Sounds an awful lot like a dictatorship to me.
Well, if it works.
Flirting aside, Anakin shows his lack of patience for the democratic process, and we see how easy it will be for him to slide into his imperial ways. Again, it becomes easier to see Anakin as the brat turned villain rather than the fallen hero. But Anakin's story isn't just a cautionary tale of fear of losing your power, or a story of wanting to hold on to what you see as yours. For Anakin's story, we have to go back to the Phantom Menace. It is an issue not shied away from on screen, but also something hardly shown in a way for us to understand the full gravity of the situation. Ask yourself, what was Anakin before he was a Jedi? He was a slave. He was someone's property. He was an object. Sure, he seemed like a happy, smiley kid and hung out with all the other happy slave children, having fun, building stuff, running around, working when they were told to work for as long as they were told to work, fully aware that if they tried to escape, they would get blown up. Boom! And his mother was a slave. We see his drive to protect his mother in Attack of the Clones. That same drive would have been in the 9-year-old boy who was powerless to lift a finger to help his bought and owned mother. Anakin didn't crave power because he was an entitled, privileged boy. He craved power because he never had any. Anakin was not privileged. Anakin did not come from a cushy life. Anakin was taken out of a slave's life and given his freedom. His freedom to live in a monastic culture that rejected property and power. Anakin had his chance to own instead of be owned, only to find himself in a life of discipline not too different than the life he already knew, minus the whole fear of getting hurt or killed on an off night thing. Anakin would now see the opulence of Republic democracy and freedom, and how it cared nothing for the pain and oppression of others, how liberty got nothing done, how in a life of independence he was being told no. And suddenly his distaste and impatience begins to make a bit more sense. Now, stay with me, because we're not at the moral of the story yet. Let me be clear, none of these circumstances of Anakin's childhood justify a single action he took as a Sith Lord. Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, is a murderer, a child murderer. He watched planets be destroyed, he threatened his pregnant wife, he was a ruthless killer who took pleasure in the suffering of others, and I am not here to say that any of this was okay. What I'm saying is, Vader didn't see himself as a bad guy because in his mind he was justified. The Jedi let people suffer while they protected their own. The council members were hypocrites who demanded others live more purely than they did. The Republic was bought by corporate corruption, and the Senate didn't care what innocents were lost so long as their campaign funds never ran dry. In short, Anakin was tired of seeing evil being done in the galaxy, and at some point he got tired of being civil. See where I'm going with this yet? Anakin felt like he was justified, and in the beginning, to some extent, he was, minus the genocide against the Sand People thing. But even then, the Raiders had kidnapped his mother, harmed her, in ways that no son would ever want to consider and caused her death. They were a ruthless band of beings who completely ruined an innocent woman. What punishment would we call on their heads if they were Hollywood producers and not a fictional alien race in a desert? Anakin didn't just think he was right. Anakin thought he was righteous. When he claims the mantle of Sith Lord, he claimed to see through the lies of the Jedi. He saw the injustices that no one else saw and knew the price that justice would bring. That self-imposed righteousness led him to so easily hate, and hate clouded his vision past the point of right and wrong. He lost his compassion for his enemy, and so lost himself. Because kindness to those who are kind is not impressive, and giving to those who are deserving is not a gift. Character is born in how we treat those who hurt us the most. We must never lose our ability to understand those we fight against, if not for their sakes, for our own, because hate burns both ways, and no one walks away without scars. And that is not to say that we should roll over or not fight for what we believe in, but it's passion for people that must drive us, and not pain. Because from our own points of view, we will never be at fault. We will never be wrong. We will never know the extent of our own misdeeds until they're pointed out to us. We must defend those who need us, and not fight for what we've deemed owed by our own mortal wisdom. In other words, we must save what we love, not fight what we hate. And that's where Anakin was gone. He wasn't trying to save his wife, he was fighting the Republic, the Jedi. Anyone he hated because of his righteous indignation clouded his vision. Obi-Wan said it best on the shores of Mustafar: "You've become the very evil you swore to destroy." It's so easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment. It's one of the most human things we could do, to be so angry that we lose ourselves in the muck that is the us versus them mentality. But us versus them is the enemy. Division is the enemy, and it's a tempting and seductive enemy. It hides in the shadows, because the more it's used, the more powerful it gets, never running dry. The only way to stop the unending cycle of division is through unity, and it's fighting for unity even when it's hard, and especially when it's undeserved. Yeah, I'm annoyed that all these months later I see the occasional Ruin Johnson tweet or having to hear more about the evil SWJ agenda in Star Wars. But you want to know what? I'm just as annoyed when I see a tweet mocking those who seek to divide and enrage us. When I see somebody flippantly slam negative YouTubers or Twitter bots, I see someone who's bought into the us versus them mentality. It makes me more mad because we're supposed to be better than that. How can any of us rightly complain that the haters keep hating when we stoke their fires day after day because we think it's hilarious to use the mute button? To be the better person, you have to actually be the better person. That counts for Star Wars, and that counts for real life too. So I ask you, are you someone who stands for division, or are you someone who stands for unity? A unity that transcends backgrounds and beliefs. A unity that includes, even in disagreements. Because a unity where we all think the same is just a lie. And that's where I'm going to leave this video. Hopefully it means something to someone somewhere. Until next time, keep it real and fly casual.